When the deck is sus and you keep on playing it anyways, hey, it's Webz here with another Hearthstone deck, this time centered around Maestra of the Masquerade to mess with your opponent's early mulligans and get access to cards that you normally wouldn't have access to. Now, let's get into the games. Alright, time for game 1, where we're turned into Demon Hunter. We keep the Grey Heart Sage in order to have some draw power if we need it, or in order to reveal ourselves early on. We mulligan into a nice stealth minion for early game. Turn 1 will just hero power. Since we know that the opponent is playing Shadow Priest, we know the game will just be a race for the face. Whoever can get as much face damage in early on will probably win. Opponent was thinking about their choices. Here we just play our 2-cost stealth minion. And now we debate with ourselves in order to determine if we want to reveal ourselves yet or not. Deciding against doing that and just going for face. Not worry about the consequences, since we'll generate another card to play down the next turn. Here we play our pirate in order to take a copy of a card from their deck, choosing to grab the Neophyte. They decide to buff up their taunt in order for us not to be able to get into their or in order for us not to be able to attack their hero. Now we generate a random card off of this and grab the Sigil of Flame, so we have access to a board clear in a turn. They continue to buff up their taunt, and then they play the Neophyte that we gave them, which is fine. We don't really care too much about the fact that they have that. We're going to play the Sigil of Flame anyways, and then play the taunt. That heals us once it dies. And then attack into their taunt. No matter what they do here, we get to clear out the board in the next turn. They play another Neophyte, which again doesn't really do much. The Traveling Merchant is kind of scary for us because we don't have any direct answers for the card. For some reason they decide cleared most of the board. Play the Italian in order to put a big taunt in the way, and then play our Neophyte. We're slowly dwindling them off of their card advantage. We're going to be able to clear out the Traveling Merchant next turn. Here we use the Scorpion to try to generate a card to deal with the board a little bit better.
What adventure are you up to today? Bring me back a brew.
We destroy their Traveling Merchant using our Neophyte. Then we bounce back the Scorpion and reveal ourselves as Valera all along instead of Illidan. From this position, we're actually not doing too awful. Though being at 1 HP can always be scary. We use Alexstrasza to heal up to 9, then we bounce back the Alexstrasza. And then next turn we'll repeat the process without the Shadow Step. And then the turn after we'll be able to heal for 10 from Flight Master. And because we have 3 mana left over from the discount from Shadow Step, we can use Relentless Pursuit in order to get rid of the Death Rattle minion without taking damage from the Death Rattle itself. The opponent at this point must be wondering how they got themselves into this position, since they had me on the ropes for quite a long time in this game. This was definitely a really satisfying game for this deck. Wish more games were like this, but sadly they weren't.
I have things you never knew you wanted.
We try to generate some face damage here. We get 2 spells that do such a thing. Then we just attack and shuffle the bleeds into the deck.
A fine purchase.
They try to buff up their 1 minion that can attack as much as humanly possible, but then attack into the wrong minion in order to even have a chance to survive. We use Wicked Stab and then attack with Alexstrasza and Flight Master in order to win the game. Game 2, where we're transformed into Warrior. We get here, we mulligan away our entire hand. Maybe it would have been better to keep the Explosive Sheep just in case, but I decided against it. Our new opening hand doesn't actually look that awful. We have a nice way to trigger our transformation back if we really need to. And we have some nice survivability cards and some nice generating cards. Here we just play the Stalker in order to get the discount for the next turn and have a 2/2 stealth on board without having to worry about it dying against a druid. The fact that they're playing Quest is kind of scary in this for this deck, just because Guff is a big minion. Here we take the Execute just in case for future proofing. And now they get to start snowballing with their quest, which sucks for us. The Druid quest itself is actually pretty cool and interesting. A lot better than I had initially expected it to be. Here we try to generate some more cards. We grab the Brawl just in case. And then we get the rank card just to generate some armor so we can live in late game. They draw 3 off of Fungal. They get to finish their second step of the request, giving them more armor. And they're up to 9 mana while we're only at 5, which is not a really good sign. Especially because this deck is on the slower side. We get rid of their minions just because we don't want them to complete the next step of the quest any much easier than they already will. Oh look, they play Blowfly Swarm, but we have the perfect answer for this.
I marvel at this.
Hopefully we don't need to have too many more perfect answers for this matchup. But as they armor up and attack into our face, the game honestly becomes harder and harder to win. Now we get a bunch of armor from this, and then hero power to get even more armor. And now they play their second swarm, which sucks for us, but still have the brawl in hand. And now they complete their quest, which just spells doom for us. There's not much that we can do about it. Sure, we can board clear with the brawl here, use hero power to survive an extra turn, but it does demonstrate how weak this deck is to basically any big threat or possibility of having to re-board wipe over and over again. Honestly, if you want to use third classes hero powers in Rogue, Yoink is probably a better option than Maestra. Maestra has its uses as it lets you play mind games with your opponent at the start, but honestly the mind games don't really matter much on ladder. or at least at this rank of ladder. At higher up, I could see it being more viable if you knew how to root with your opponent more. But from a casual perspective, it doesn't. But yeah, here they just buff up their guff as much as humanly possible, and there's nothing we can do about it, and we just lose. I should have conceded at this point, but for some reason I figured I could still win if I generated like another brawler or something off of this, but sadly we didn't. That was the only way we could have come back. Now that we're through the games, let's get on to the discussion of how well the deck did. The deck performed very, very poorly. Maestra's ability does allow you to mess with your opponent's mind on mulligans and such, but you also slow yourself down by not having access to a bunch of the damage output that Rogue has, or the draw power that Rogue has access to early on, in order to combo out for either in a deck such as Urkel Rogue or even Quest Rogue for control. I ended up settling on the stealth package because it allowed for easy aggro games, since the meta right now is pretty quick. I tried out different packages, such as the variant package, which did better than expected, but at the same time was a little bit too slow for the current metagame. I also tried N'Zoth out, but that just had large cost minions, which did not work at all. I never got a N'Zoth payoff with the deck. There's a bunch of like 2-cost cards that you could run instead in the deck. Colt would be a great choice, especially if you're facing a lot more mages than I was. Loot Hunt Hoarder would probably be better than SI7's Stolker. But I ended up going with Stolkers because it was just another stealth minion. Wicked Stab is another card that I would probably put in over Shadow Step and Alexstrasza if you want to get rid of Alexstrasza in the main deck, to cut down on dust cost, or even just for the fact that meta right now is too quick. You run a lot of cards that generate other cards from the class that you turn into. These ended up feeling pretty nice if you got them early game, so you could reveal yourself and not worry about playing any of your rogue cards. Nessa was just in here, maybe copy a quest reward. Honestly, probably for the best to remove her. Explosive Sheep was in here in order to have guaranteed board clears, which was good. It actually improved the deck's win rate by a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean from around 20-ish% to 30%. The key in this deck, if you plan on playing it, I don't recommend, would be to know how to mess with your opponent as much as humanly possible without messing up your game plan and losing out on the game state. Battle Master helps out the stealth package because you have a guaranteed 12 damage on board. But overall, again, I would not recommend playing the deck unless you want to have some fun and don't care about your rating at all. So until next time, bye bye.